Hello, hi, a very warm good evening to everyone who are watching this now. So I am Krishnaveni and I have been talking to you about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So you would have seen me in so many bio-based lectures. I'm teaching class 11 and class 12. Yes, so you would have interacted with me in a lot of Menti quiz. So this is yet another video for all those who are interested to know more about biology apart from your two NCERT books. So how many of you are very curious to learn apart from the NCERT? Obviously, you all should be, right? Because you're aspiring to be doctors of tomorrow. So always doctor has to be updated, right? For example, now we are in a pandemic situation. So we have the next version also of Corona outside, roaming around freely. So you don't know where exactly it is, but it's there. So as doctors, you should be updated about the recent drugs in the market, about the recent infections, about the recent treatments, about the recent therapy methods, right? So a doctor has no expiry date or end date to keep himself updated or keep him studying. Not only doctors, so everyone in your family should always keep yourself updated. So whatever you read will never go waste. So that saying is perfectly true. So whatever you read will never go waste. So keep updating your knowledge. Your knowledge is your biggest strength ever. Alright, so a lot of people, so when I was teaching you vaccine, so if you remember my lecture in human health and disease, we were talking about what is vaccine, what is immunization, what is passive immunization, what is active immunization, so on and so forth. So I randomly asked the students, so can you tell me how many vaccines you are given? How many of you have been vaccinated? Do you know the idea of how many vaccines you are given and why you are given, against what are the diseases? Do you know? No idea, right? So you all know you've been vaccinated, but no one knows how many vaccines we have been given and how many doses of some vaccines you have given, right? So no idea, right? So hence I thought I'll give a short insight into how many vaccines we are given and at what age and why are we given, what are the types of vaccine, what is going on around you. So life is never within the four walls, right? So you're always involved, you always be a part of the outside environment, you always be a part of the global city as well. So thus you should also know what's happening outside your NCERT books, and thus I planned the short dinner time videos. So I guess all of you are watching this video, having your dinner, having tasty meals. Yes, so that is good. So this is a video that you can relax, but at the same time gain a lot of insights to understand how the world outside is moving forward. So the healthcare technology is the hugest, is the biggest industry, the enormous industry ever that is taking drastic steps towards development. Imagine we had no drugs, no vaccines. So what would be the life around us? Have you ever thought of some weird situations? So we always think of weird situations like, what if I go to Mars? What if I land on moon? What if God comes and asks me? Etc. and etc. So weird questions are also practically you can choose, like what if there was no vaccine at all? So leave now, there are no vaccines for corona, there are nothing which is 100% essential, 100% efficient you can say. But let me tell you, can you imagine a world without vaccines? Can you imagine a world without a single drug? Drugs, I mean paracetamol, your antibiotics. Can you imagine a life without them? Yes, can you? So today's world, every house, even if they have some basic needs like TV, fridge, food, I don't care, but every household will have a medicine box, right? So do you agree? So look at all the members in your house. How many of you have their own medicine box? You take medicines for so many types, right? This is for this is for this, etc., etc. So I bet it's a guarantee. So every household will have a medicine box, and at least 1 out of 3 persons in the household will be on medication continuously. Do you agree with me, guys? So be it grandparents, yes, they are old, I agree, but still they rely on medicines. Yes, sometimes even kids, they suffer from diabetes, they suffer from sinus, they suffer from cough, cold, etc. Somehow or the other, every day we are dependent on drugs directly or indirectly, right? So these days, even if you have a small problem, you go to the doctor. Sometimes we use tablets for other purposes. Apart from normal body functioning, you take up tablets for long hair growth, how to reduce hair fall control. Yes, for that also you take tablets. So every day, every life, every minute we are dependent on medicines, we are dependent on a lot of drugs. So life is going on, so we actually don't know where we are heading to. Like I told you, we are heading towards a genomic era where one day you will have your personalized genomic sequence. For example, when I say personalized genomic sequence, what do I mean? So one day, just like your Aadhaar card, you will have your genomic sequence in your hand. So every person before going into the hospital will scan your genomic code so that the machine will automatically know which sequence has a mutation, where the mutation is, what disorder you have and what dose to give. So very soon we'll be entering a technology or era, something similar to this, where everything will be personalized. The medicine that you and I take will no longer be the same. Alright, so with so much going on, so there's something as simple as vaccines, right? So let's see what I have to tell you in vaccines. So there are a lot of things that you can talk about vaccines. So if you give me the topic vaccines and if you ask me to teach, trust me, I can take vaccines for a week. I can teach you about vaccines 2 hours per class per day. I can teach you for a week. There's so much about vaccine. So vaccine has a separate book on its own. It is a separate subject where life science people read. So there's so much to know about vaccine. It is not just what you know. So you only know the definition. You only know just a small speck of the whole thing. So today the world is awaiting not 2021, but a vaccine for the ever dangerous virus, right? So this is the most feasible solution that people are looking forward to. Just like you and I are looking forward to. So all of us want normalcy back, right? So this is a perfect situation to talk about vaccines, because every day in and out of the newspaper, in and out of the headlines in your Google Chrome, you talk about vaccines, you talk about monoclonal antibodies. If you remember, I have discussed monoclonal antibodies in my lecture. So I thought this would be an apt lecture to give you insights on how vaccines are being made, how many types of vaccines are there, and why it is not easy to get a vaccine overnight. It is definitely not easy, alright? So here we'll talk in detail. So it's a journey that you will walk with me. Just I told you, it's a huge ocean again in a part of under the field of immunology. So one vast ocean is vaccination, but we won't be talking much about it. So it is a dinner time video. Before the time you complete dinner, so I'll have to complete my video. So I will just give you an overview or a rough insight on what is vaccination, have you been vaccinated, or how many vaccines have you been given till date. Alright, so thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you will understand or you will get some insights about this, which will be always useful to you. Alright, so I always wish you greater happiness and peace in the upcoming year 2021, along with a successful vaccine for your coronavirus. Alright, so together let's take on this journey of vaccines. Okay, so I guess all of you by now would have come to a conclusion. What are vaccines? What are vaccinations? So I've been giving a lot of hype for the introduction. Alright, so all that you remember about vaccine is when you were young, you held your mother's hand and you went to the hospital, and someone, the rude nurse, the angry nurse, pokes the needle inside you and you burst out crying. So some might have very bad memories regarding to vaccines, and people who are scared of injections and needle, definitely you will have a hell of a lot of bad memories when I talk about vaccines, right? So how many of you cried for all the vaccines? How many of you are still scared of vaccines, injections and needles? Don't worry, even I am scared. It does not make us any smaller or any bigger. Yes, so needles when we were young were scary. Yes, so it continues. So all the vaccine experiences should have been bad for you. So, but as you grow older, you will understand the need and the importance of getting vaccinated. But today, as being NEET aspirants, you will be technically able to understand what is vaccine, how are they being made, and what happens further. Alright, so you're going a step up, so you should update yourself, you should upgrade yourself with all that's happening around yourself. Alright, yes. Sorry, so welcome to my journey. So we are going to talk about all about vaccination. So everything in and out as much as I can cover in this short dinner time video. Yes, for all of you. So here we go. Yes, so you would have seen newspaper clippings like this, right? So vaccines, there's a real issue in vaccine safety, ancient vaccine for COVID-19. So new vaccine hope for the for end to pandemic. So recently, when the pandemic initially started towards the mid-crisis, I mean August, September, you would have seen a lot of newspapers carrying information about vaccines. So there were a lot of vaccines where we used mixed combinations, right? So you tried to use a particular drug. For example, a drug which is used for cancer has been tried to repurpose to be used for COVID vaccine. So then it was found a failure. If you remember vividly, people in between were using malarial drug, hydroxychloroquine, for treating COVID-19, but later found it's giving side effects, and then they banned the drug, right? So many news articles, news incidents you have read about vaccines, about COVID-19, about drugs, but nothing at the end of the day was fruitful, so you would have just banged the newspaper back. Yes, do you remember? So what is happening around us? Why is vaccine taking the hell out of our lives? So all we are hopeful for is a vaccine, and that little thing is taking a hell of a lot of time. Why? So it is not now. So there has been a pandemic before. There has been a pandemic years before during the Second World War as well. So every time vaccine has been the only solution, but vaccine still takes time. But let me tell you, so the corona vaccine, that is the COVID-19 vaccine, is the most breathtaking discovery and invention you can say. In such a short span, researchers have put forward a lot of efforts to come up with such a huge and a brilliant formulation. Yes, it might be a failure, but it might not be 100% failure. Might be. It may not be 100% effective, to put it in the other terms. Alright, yes, so everywhere we talk about vaccines. So today we'll talk about the types of vaccines and what are the vaccines that we are given. Alright, okay, so what are they? I've been continuously talking about vaccines, vaccinations, but what is a vaccine? How do you define a vaccine for me? Yes, so yes, we have done that chapter, so by now you should be able to define what is a vaccine, right? So come on, tell me, what is vaccine? Hold on, I have a twist in the story. So vaccine is different from vaccination. So vaccines are different, vaccination is different. So I hope you understand. Now tell me, what is vaccine? Yes? So I have the definition. So what is a vaccine? So vaccines train your immune system to create antibodies just as it does when it's exposed to a disease. So what is the other way that you can define vaccines for me? So they are biological molecules which can initiate the immune system to produce antibodies against a particular pathogen. So that is a way, that is also another way where you can define vaccines, right? Fine. Now tell me, what is vaccination? So you understand vaccine is a medicine that you give so that your body is protected against a particular disease. So if you're not from a science background and if you have to understand vaccine, so putting it in a layman terms for you, so vaccine is a medicine, okay, you can see it in a bottle, you can take it as an oral pill. So it is a medicine, it is a biological medicine, it is made up of live molecules sometimes, it is sometimes made up of heat-killed molecules. So it is a medicine that is given to your body, that is injected into your body so that your bodies can produce antibodies against your pathogen, or it can increase the immune response against a particular antigen. Alright, yes. So what is vaccination? So it is a simple, a safe and effective way of protecting people against harmful diseases before they come in contact with them. So vaccination is a preventive measure that you do beforehand to protect yourself and the people around you from a particular serious disorder. Alright, yes, disorder or a disease. So this is the difference between vaccine and vaccination. Now you get my point? Yes, this is the difference between both. So this is a vaccine, okay, so it is available as injection mode, yes, that is intravenous mode, intrasubcutaneous mode or a oral mode, and vaccination, when you give it as a precautious method so that you prevent people from a particular kind of disease, so that is called as vaccination. Alright, is that understood? Okay, so can you tell me what was the first vaccine that ever came into picture? Yes. So you don't know what was the life before vaccines, right? So I understand when I talk about the ancient history. So for example, let's take the ancient history of India. So before actually allopathic medicine came into picture, we have a lot of other medicines, right? We have Siddha, Ayurveda, etc. So many types of medicines that are prevailing even now in our country. So even now Siddha medicine is very famous, even now Ayurvedic medicine is pretty famous. So why do we prefer going there? Though the treatment is slow, but it does not have side effects. So one scary thing about your English medicine or your normal medicine that is based on drugs is that you can easily have side effects, right? Okay, so why I am telling you is that, so initially when we actually started believing in English medicine, way before that so our ancestors, they basically lived with home remedies or Ayurvedic medicines, right? So there was a transient period after people stopped believing in your Ayurvedic medicine because Ayurvedic medicine was not fast enough. It was curable, but it took its own time. So there was a time when people stopped believing in Ayurvedic medicine and a time when people were hit hard with so many dangerous diseases. So that's when people were looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's where vaccines came into picture. So trust me, vaccines have saved a lot of people from serious disorders. So very, very dangerous diseases that claim the life of millions of people. Okay, so the first vaccine that you ever talk about will be your smallpox. Okay, so in the October of 1997, so not even a single case was your smallpox was reported because it was completely eradicated with the help of vaccines. So after that, people went on to trial for polio vaccine because polio was the next disorder in place which was seeking a solution. Alright, so on and so forth, we have so many diseases, we have so many microorganisms playing behind the diseases, and yet in the outfront we have to save human beings, at least we have to prevent the disease from spreading. So that was the aim behind producing vaccines. Alright, so there are so many companies in the world around which is producing vaccines. So starting from, if the first one, if you know, it is Pfizer Biotech, then you have Biocon in Bangalore. So all these are vaccine producing companies. So there are lots. So US has a lot. I'm sorry. So US has a lot of companies, German has a lot of companies, UK has a lot of companies. So there are so many vaccine producing companies, but do we have a successful vaccine history? Yes, we do have a successful vaccine history. That's why today the solution that we are looking forward for your COVID-19 is a vaccine. Alright, so any idea, do we have a successful vaccine right now for the strain 2 of your COVID? Yes. So let me give you a small announcement. So stay tuned for more updates about the version 2 of Corona, and I'm coming back soon. Alright, fine. So here we go. So now I told you vaccine is very important because it helps us protect against a particular deadly pathogen, right? So there's something called as World Immunization Week. Have you ever heard of it? So when you were young, alright, you're still young, so we are not yet old. So they used to come in your streets announcing that today we are giving polio vaccine. So please bring your child below 4 years to get him vaccinated, and the vaccine is done in this particular center. Have you heard announcements like that? Yes, have you? Yes, they usually come, right, and they have banners where they aware people that yes, they should be vaccinated, right? So certain vaccines are free, certain vaccines you pay for. Okay, so polio vaccine is free. They try to vaccinate everyone around. Alright, so there's something called as World Immunization Week. Just like you have your Thanksgiving week, just like you have your New Year week, like you have your Christmas week, we also have your World Immunization Week. So when it is celebrated in the last week of April, from 24th to 30th of April. So if you have your birthdays in between, so it is easy for you to remember. So it is called as the World Immunization Week, where people are given awareness about the importance of vaccines. Alright. So promote the use of vaccines to protect people against, or people of all ages against a disease. This is important because a lot of people are still not aware about what are vaccines, whether kids should be vaccinated or not. So just like you and I, we are educated, right? So you are educated, you know what are vaccines, you know how it is important to protect yourself from a disease, but you still don't know how many vaccines you are given. So it doesn't mean that you're a fool, right? So similarly, there are so many mothers, so there are so many young mothers, there are so many illiterate mothers who do not know when to take the child for vaccination, when to give it exactly at the same time. So do you guys have any idea? It's not only humans who have to get vaccinated, even animals have vaccination. Yes, you heard it right, even animals have to get it vaccinated. So if you have a pet dog at home, I guess all of you will agree with me, so all the pet dog owners, a big shout out to you. So you have your dog, so you have your cat as well. Even if you have your cow, even if you have your goat, you have to take them for vaccination regularly. So especially your dogs, if they are not of Indian origin, if they do not belong to the Indian breed, you definitely have to keep a very keen line on the vaccination that they have to be given. So they are given a lot of vaccines in the first 6 months, followed by every year they have vaccination. So it's important that you vaccinate them. So it is a humble request. It is not only safe for you, it is safe for the dog as well. So please, if you have not vaccinated your dog, please run right now to the veterinary doctor. At least call up the veterinary doctor and fix an appointment. It is equally important for the dog's health also to get vaccinated against a particular virus. So certain bacteria which is not infectious to us are very, very harmful to them, because the gut or the rumen of an animal is more dependent on microorganisms than your gut and my gut. So it is my humble request, if you want your dog to live long and safe and healthy, I know they are not immortal as well, but still, if you don't want them to suffer, please take them to the veterinary hospital and get them vaccinated as early as possible. Okay, so it's a continuous chat that you have to get them vaccinated. Please make a note of it. All the animals have to be vaccinated. Alright? Okay. So here we are talking about the World Immunization Week. So there's also something called as a World Immunization Day. So there's something called as World Immunization Week, where the entire week you're given awareness about the vaccines that you have to be vaccinated, and there's something called as World Immunization Day, and it is celebrated on 10th of November. Alright? So 10th of November, World Immunization Day. Yes, it recently went by, but we were not aware. But henceforth, make a note of it. World Immunization Day is on 10th of November. So this day is celebrated to make people aware about the importance of getting vaccinations against vaccine preventable diseases. This is equally important. Okay. So might be due to some family issues, the child might not be vaccinated, which in turn can cause serious consequences in the near future. So there are so many ways in which you can skip a vaccine. So that is why you have this awareness. So the theme of this World Immunization Day is Vaccine Work for All. Alright? Yes? Yes. So please Google up. The UNICEF has a page on World Immunization Day. You can subscribe it to get more newsletters, to get more updates. You can also donate, because some vaccines are free of cost that the government or the UNICEF is providing, so you can be a part. So you can always be a part of good cause. It is never wrong, right? So you all aspire to be doctors, so saving the lives should be your first priority, right? That is the role of a doctor. So please do log into UNICEF and Google about World Immunization Day. You will get a lot of insights about why it is being celebrated and since when, how it is going forward, what are the campaigns they come up with. So all this is important because you should grow holistically, not only in terms of NCERT biology. Alright? Okay. So do you know there are so many types of vaccines? Yes, ma'am, we know. One type of vaccine is that can be injected. The other type is that can be consumed orally. If you say no, there are so many types of vaccines that are prevailing in the market. There are so many ways in which you can prepare a vaccine. That is what I mean, the types of vaccine. So you nearly have 3, 4, 5 main types of vaccines. So each one has an advantage, each one has a disadvantage on its own. So do you know how many vaccines are available for the diseases? There are so many deadly diseases, right? So over the heels of victory on your polio virus and your smallpox virus, still we as the global citizens are trying to find the vaccines for other diseases that are still uncurable, like your AIDS, which has no vaccines yet. So there's a crying demand to produce more vaccines against these deadly diseases as well. So let's look at the types of vaccines. So I'm not going to take a class. I'm just going to give you a brief view on how it is being made, because this video is common to all people of all genre, because all of us, irrespective of your likes and dislikes, all of us are vaccinated. So I believe this video is common to all. It's not that only biology students should watch and people preparing for JEE Main should not watch. No, it's a dinner time video, meaning all of you in your family can watch. I'm definitely sure your papa and mama will not know how many vaccines you're given and what are the types of vaccines. It's important that they know as well. Alright, so we have so many vaccines in the market right now for so many types of diseases. Okay, so first one that we'll talk about is live attenuated vaccine. So it is given again measles, mumps, polio, rotavirus, rubella, tuberculosis, so on and so forth. So one thing about live attenuated is you use the whole organism. For example, if you know what is causing your polio, so you take the virus that is causing polio, alright, and you attenuate the vaccine. So what is this meaning of attenuation? So you would have come across this word time and again, right? So attenuation means reducing the virulence. So that is called as attenuation. So for example, if you have that virus, so you know that virus is harmful and that is causing polio. So you will culture that virus in a modified medium. So you will not give the favorable conditions for the virus to grow. Instead, you will give unfavorable conditions for the virus to grow. So as the virus grows in generation, so it will have a mutant variety. So that will be modified. So that will have reduced virulence. So you will use that organism to provide vaccine. So which means you will inject that live attenuated vaccine into the body of the host. So now the host will produce antibody against that pathogen. So you will have vaccination done. Alright. Before I talk about vaccination, there are two other terms that I want to address. So what is active immunization? What is passive immunization? So we have spoken about the types of immunization, right? So immunity is different, immunization is different, types of immunity is different, types of immunization is different. So types of immunity are your adaptive and your innate immunity? Yes. So types of immunization are active and passive. So what is passive? So passive is always you spoon feed, that is passive, right? You go in the reverse way. For example, when your body is not, so before your body is able to produce antibodies, if you are supplying the body with antibodies, that is called as passive immunity. For example, when a baby is born, so from the mother, the antibodies are transferred to the baby. So that is passive. Even before the body of the baby, even before the immune system of the baby can make up the antibodies are being passed on to the fetus, right? So that is called as passive. But when you are actually attacked by a pathogen and your body is making the antibody, it is called as active immunization. Remember, when antibodies are made in your body, it is active. When they are artificially provided, it is passive. Alright? Okay, so coming back to the types of vaccine. So the first one is live attenuated vaccine. So where you reduce the virulence of the organism and you use that in the vaccine formulation and you inject it inside the host. Okay? So now this organism is avirulent, meaning it has reduced virulence. So it will not cause disease, but your body will be able to produce antibodies against this live attenuated organism. Right? So that is called as live attenuated. So what are the advantages? The strong immune response because the organism is still live. Alright? So it has long lifelong immunity with few doses. So now the organism is always live, right? So you do not have to again and again give this in periodic intervals because the organism is live here. But at the same time, it can be disadvantages as well. Sometimes the organism, so here you have mutated the organism, but inside your body conditions, it can reverse back to the original virulent condition. So that is pretty dangerous. So that is one advantage and disadvantage of your live attenuated vaccines. Alright. So inactivated or killed. So you take the direct organism which is causing the disease. For example, let's go for hepatitis A. So you take the virus, okay, you kill the virus, or you treat it with chemicals and then you inject it inside an organism. Even though the organism is dead, your body will identify that as foreign and will produce antibodies, right? So anyway, it is killed. So it is not going to be harmful to you. In a way, it is going to produce a lot of antibodies. And one more point about active and passive immunization is, when you are doing passive immunization, when you are artificially injecting antibodies, remember there are no memory cells being generated. So memory cells are important for your secondary immune response, if you remember, right? So always when your body is naturally producing antibody, it will generate a memory cell which will remember what is happening right now and then. So that next time when the same pathogen comes, it will remember how to attack it. So in case of passive immunization, when the body is not producing antibodies on its own, so there you will not have a memory cell, but in case of active immunity, you will have a memory cell. Alright, so this is about inactivated or killed vaccine. So it is stable because the organism is killed. So from a mutated version, it will not come back to the original virulent form. So the disadvantage here has become an advantage. So it is safer than live vaccine. Alright, so that is one advantage. But what is the disadvantage? Weaker immune response than live vaccine. So live vaccine, when the pathogen is live, so the ability to kill the pathogen or the strength required to kill the pathogen is high. For example, imagine you are in a PUBG ground. So I guess all of you know what is a PUBG ground, right? So it is players unknown battleground. So if your opponent is live, so it takes in a lot of effort for you to shoot that person. But if that person is dead, all that you will do is to put in some efforts to throw him out of your path, right? So the immune response that is elicited here in case of inactivated vaccine is less, but in case of live attenuated vaccine, it is high. So do you get my point? So these are two types where the whole organism is being used in your vaccine. Alright, yes, fine. So here you have rabies vaccine, hepatitis A vaccine, etc. So if a dog bites you, you're given rabies vaccine, right? So that is inactivated or heat-killed vaccine. So moving on to the next type of vaccine. So here you have purified macromolecules. So we call them as subunit vaccines. So what are subunit vaccines? So instead of taking the whole organism, you take only one particular part of the organism. For example, there are bacteria which will produce toxins. Okay. For example, your diphtheria toxin. So you will only take the toxin and you will formulate a vaccine. So looking at the toxin, your body will mount an immune response and produce antibody. So that is one way. So you're only taking a subunit of the particular virulent organism and producing a vaccine. So this is called a subunit vaccine. Alright. So you only take the inactivated exotoxin. For example, if you know the bacteria or the virus is capable of producing a toxin, you inactivate that toxin first and then you insert it inside the viral vaccine formulation. Alright. So toxin immune system becomes primed to recognize bacterial toxin. So your body is designed in such a way that you have lot of receptors which will recognize your bacterial toxin and hence the immune response will be mounted against them. Okay, so example, your diphtheria and tetanus. The next one is subunit. So where you take a particular protein part, say a polysaccharide part, and then you prepare a vaccine because a particular epitope you can say. So what is an epitope? So this is your antibody, right? So this is the structure of your antibody, right? So this here you have your antigen binding site. So the point where your antibody recognizes your antigen, so that is called as an epitope or your antigenic determinant. So you can just take that particular point, you can just take the polysaccharide portion, the polypeptide portion of your virulent organism and then use it in your vaccine preparation. So that is also a type of subunit preparation. Alright, so these does not use the whole organism, instead they use only a subunit of your organism. Alright, so here you have hepatitis, streptococcal pneumonia and so on. So what are the advantage? The specific antigens, they lower the chance of adverse reactions. So prime infant immune systems to recognize certain bacteria. So it is difficult to develop because you have to very surely isolate that particular bit of the whole organism. Alright. So the next type is your DNA vaccine. Still, sometimes this is tough to develop. What can be the more easier method? That is your DNA vaccine, right? So DNA vaccine, so what you do? You directly go to the virus, you go to the bacteria that is causing a disease and you pick up the essential gene and then you directly insert it into your host. So if you insert a gene of bacteria inside my body, so along with my chromosomal DNA, that will also replicate, transcribe and translate, yes. So it will produce protein. Now my body will identify that protein as foreign and it will elect an immune response. So it is the natural way the body is producing the protein. So there are no side effects. So all the disadvantages that you saw in the previous type of vaccine is not there in your DNA vaccine. So this is also one method. So it is a strong humoral and cell-mediated immunity. Yes, because it is the way that your body is naturally producing proteins. If at all a particular cell is found to contain that protein, then it will be your cytotoxic mediated T cells acting on it. And if the protein is found in your blood, then your B cells will act on them. So that was one fantastic breakthrough in your vaccines. They are your DNA vaccines, but DNA vaccines have not yet been successful. Okay. The next type and the most newer version is your recombinant vector. So what is a recombinant vector? So what do you think is a recombinant vector? So what happens is you take the organism, alright, and in place, so you insert certain genes, okay. So here the organism itself will act as a vector. For example, take a bacteria A that is causing a serious infection in humans. You take that bacteria and use it as a host. Use it as a plasmid. So you clone a particular type of toxin coding gene inside that bacteria, alright, and then you insert it inside the host. So you have heightened immune response. So that is also one way. So with the help of so it mimics natural infection, resulting in strong immune response. So when I am formulating a vaccine, I do not give the direct organism that is causing infection inside your vaccine, right? So that is harmful. Either I give live attenuated form or I give inactivated form. Instead, now I take a normal bacteria and clone the gene of that toxin causing bacteria. Alright, now this will act as a vector inside the host producing proteins. Now immune response will act against these proteins. Alright, so that is your recombinant vector. So recombinant vector is far more advantageous than all the other vectors. Alright, so this is the recent type. So now when you read articles about vaccines, you will be able to understand on what basis they are being prepared. Now go deeper. So long you were only looking at the heading. So vaccines are out, vaccines are promising. So promising strategies to have vaccines by the end of February 2021. So next time when you just look at the article, now go further. So read the last two lines or in between two lines where you can find whether it's a subunit vaccine, whether it is a DNA vaccine. Yes, so that is how you grow. That is how you grow scientifically. Alright, yes. So apart from that, there is a super beautiful way of producing vaccines. So people are coming up with more and more technology, and the most recent one is your mRNA vaccine. So when I say recent, it's not that it was found today or yesterday. It was found some years back, but compared to all your other vaccine production technique, it is a bit a new technique. Alright? Sorry. So your messenger RNA, so mRNAs are nothing but your messenger RNA. It is a single stranded molecule naturally present in all our cells. Yes, your body and my body have mRNA. Do you have any doubt? Well, I don't have. So all of us, we undergo central, so all the cells have central dogma of life, right? So they replicate, transcribe and translate. So yes, so we have mRNA. So mRNA is the information that is being copied from your DNA, and from your mRNA it's getting translated to proteins, right? Okay, so what is this mRNA vaccine? So your mRNA carries instructions for proteins from our gene and it gets translated, alright? Okay, so an mRNA vaccine delivers the instruction for making a bacterial or viral protein to our cell. For example, if I give an mRNA into my body, mRNA will contain the genetic information for a particular protein. If I am inserting the mRNA that contains information for a viral protein, then it will enter my body, it will undergo translation because my body has ribosomes and other enzymes, right? So it has tRNA also. So now it will produce that viral protein. So now your body will elicit immune response against that protein. So in case of your DNA vaccine, it has to undergo translation and transcription. Here it is all the more simple. It is saving energy because your cell is very, very cautious to spend less energy. So here only one step, translation, the protein is produced, then it will elicit immune response. Alright, so this is the latest discovery, but it is not yet in use. But for your COVID-19 vaccine, a lot of companies are trying to come up with your mRNA vaccine because the way is very easy, right? So our immune system then responds to these proteins and envelopes the tools to react to the future infections of pathogen. Alright, so it is always recommended that your body produces antibodies, that is when memory cells will be generated. So if artificially, if I am giving preformed antibodies, it will only act against the pathogen but it will leave no memory. So always memory cells are very, very important for the second round of infection. For example, first time when you have got small chicken pox, the amount of period that you suffered will be more. But the second time when you have got, it will be quick. You will recover quickly because you have memory cells in your body. So that's why they say when you get chicken pox, don't go to the doctor, don't get injected. Because that will stop the ability of your immune system to work against a particular pathogen. Because if you're artificially giving an antibody, no memory cell will be generated, thus it is tough. So always it is advised that let your body heal naturally, be it cold, be it fever. So your body has the capability to heal on its own. So ma'am, then you are saying don't rely on vaccines. Vaccines are different, injections are different, alright. So we give passive immunization, so we give antibodies in very, very severe cases. Where it can be avoided, please avoid them. For example, when you have a snake bite, I can't say no, let the body produce antibody, the patient will be gone. So that case, I give a preformed antibody to save the life of the patient. It's not that next time when he has snake bite, he will not have memory. Again, next time when he has a snake bite, I will give him the same injection. Alright, so I hope you understand the difference between the two. Alright, so now going forward, yes, vaccination schedule. So this schedule, so this is more important. So here we have the most awaited information. So count how many you are given. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So against 11 deadly infections you are given vaccination, and this is against this is the schedule in US, I understand, but we are not very different from the US schedule. If at all you have your vaccination chart, so your mother must have your vaccination chart, right? Because in the hospital they used to tick in your own card. So if you have the chart, take out and let's cross check. So it is hepatitis B, rotavirus, DPT, that is diphtheria, tetanus and pertussis. So this is a combined vaccine. For all the 3 types of diseases, then Haemophilus influenzae type B against bacterial meningitis and other infection. This is pneumococcal, inactivated poliovirus, influenza, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, hepatitis A, meningococcal. So these are the diseases. Okay, so look at the time period in which they are given. So 1 month, 2 months, 3 months till years. So some are given yearly, some are given so many doses. For example, when you see your PCV, that is pneumococcal combined vaccine, so it is given so many doses, right? So why certain vaccines are given so many times? Why are they given so many doses? For example, let me tell you, when the baby is born, okay, when the baby is born, so the baby gets antibodies from the mother through the placenta directly. That time when you give these vaccinations, so immediately that antibodies will eliminate your pathogen. So the baby's bodies will not produce antibodies, so which means there is no memory. So you give repeated doses until the mother's antibodies are eliminated and the body of the baby is efficient enough to make antibodies. So that is why certain things you give repeated doses. Is that understood why we give repeated doses of a particular antibody? For example, influenza is given yearly. Because in the initial months, the baby will have the placental antibodies like your IgA, IgG, IgM. So, till the maternal antibody gets eliminated and the baby is able to produce its own antibody, we give repeated doses of these vaccines. Alright? Yes? So, get aware, we are given so many vaccines. We are almost given more than 10 vaccines till 4 years. But recently, there are also vaccines till 18 years where you get annual vaccination. So, you also have to get a vaccine at the age of 18. That is called as one complete vaccination. So, I know many of you would have skipped that because it was not well aware. Anyways, it is not very important. So, these vaccines were very important. So, just take out your vaccination chart. So, download my PPT from your eCareerPoint app and you can correlate if you are given these vaccines properly. So, what happens now if you skip a vaccine? Suppose, okay, the mother and the father was busy and they skipped a particular vaccine for the baby. Say, for example, in 2 years, they skipped a particular vaccine. Okay, so they gave vaccines till 1 year, 2 to 3 years they forgot, and then in the 4th year they remembered, oh, he was not vaccinated the previous year. So what do you do in that case? So there is nothing to panic. Take him to the doctor. So in order he or she will be vaccinated according to the schedule. So even if you miss a vaccine, it's okay. So the earlier you find, the better it is. But take them to a doctor. The doctor will follow the schedule accordingly. Then they will vaccinate. The same with dogs. For example, if the date of vaccine is February and you skip it till April, and in April you have a next vaccine. So without for example, let me tell you clearly. So in the month of February you have a vaccine A. Then in the month of April you have a vaccine B. Now you skip the vaccine in February and you directly go to April. They will not inject vaccine B. They will first complete A. And then they will give you a second schedule for vaccine B. So they always go in order. Alright? Yes? So this is how the medical area or the healthcare industry proceeds towards vaccine. So this is just a small insight out of the whole ocean of your vaccine. I thought this might help you in your overall development and you will be aware of what is happening outside. Alright? Yes? Yes. So this is all I wanted to share with you in your dinner time. So hope you're done with your sumptuous meal for the day. Yes, and even I am done with my knowledgeable lecture for you. So hope you enjoyed it. So if you genuinely liked the video, if you genuinely understood something, if you had received some knowledge, some enlightenment of what is happening in the walls, four walls outside you, so please do like, share and subscribe my channel. So please do lend your support to me. Alright, yes. So I know 2020 is ending and we're all looking forward to a bright year of 2021. So I wish you abundance of happiness, abundance of hope, abundance of faith and abundance of blessings as well. So I wish to stay connected with you. So do join me for all my YouTube lectures. I am here every day 4 p.m. live talking about your class 11 and class 12 chapter followed by a mentee on alternate days. So do join me, and this is Krishnaveni signing off. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience.